This is the Run Recap.
So you had an interesting run yesterday, huh?
Yeah, well, more than anything, I just needed to get in. So this is the week before, really, the race I've been training for, all year, and have not been on my training like I wanted to. So I'm not going to hit my goal. When you do enough training, you know pretty much what the outcome is going to be within, probably about 30 seconds. Maybe a minute, something like that. So I pretty much know what I'm trained for and what I can accomplish, and that's what the race will be. And I know the course well enough to totally know what I'm going to do. So anyway, so that's just all in place. It's already, I'm too close to the race to make any adjustments or anything. But plugging away through it, it's not quite what I wanted, but still, that's good enough. So and I'm in good enough shape to have fun with it at least. It won't be a PR, but it'll be a lot of fun.
And this is the actual race you're talking about that happened yesterday.
No. Yesterday was just a training run.
Oh, okay.
So,
gotcha.
Yeah. So this is my last long run before the half marathon I've been training for. Mm-hmm. So I needed to get in 12 miles a week before, and that way I have plenty of time to recover to then run 13 and a half. The 12-mile run it didn't have any pace designation to it all. It's just get in the miles, get yourself out there running for, almost 2 hours. So, then when you go and race, you're all set. So that's what I did. And I decided to make it much harder than my race run to, again, relieve me mentally.
Yeah. Right.
So the run I did is my normal 10K run. My normal 10K run has about 450 feet of vertical in it. And so, it's a really good hill right in the middle of it. And my race will not have that at all. So anyway. So I made it harder than that. And then I just did my 10K route twice.
So for reference, 400 feet, you said 400, 500 feet of vertical, is that what you said?
Yeah, it's 450 feet of vertical. So I ran just shy of 900 feet of vertical yesterday.
So what's, for reference, so for anyone listening in Spokane, that's where is that?
Well, if you're used to Spokane, I had to run up 5 mile from the bottom of Indian Trail up to the top of 5 Mile twice.
Okay. So that's a good solid hill. That's what quarter mile up?
No, it's solid.
Right?
The up is about a half mile.
Half a mile. My gosh, I was way off.
Yeah, so it's a lot of vertical, and that's all the verticals just in one hill. There aren't any other hills. So you just run up this thing, and then the downhill is spread out a little bit more, which is really actually pretty nice for as far as strategy goes and things like that. So you don't have too steep of a downhill. I really like that course, but but it's just running up the backside of 5 Mile twice is what I did yesterday. And I've been wanting to do that for a while, but also knowing it's a hard enough route. This is going to take me a long time. So I have to have the time set aside to actually do it. So finally, it just made sense yesterday. I had to do it anyway. So went out and did it, and felt great. Real honestly, took off and was just in a good stride, a little bit under 8-minute pace, and which is right where I wanted to be, because point of yesterday was not to push anything. So just get out, stride. I just want to be smooth. I want to cruise, and that's it. And wasn't breathing hard at all. Just felt great. And even up the first hill, felt real comfortable. It's breathing through my nose most of the time. Not on the hill, but the rest of the time, it's breathing through my nose a lot. Got the first loop done. Had to take a bathroom break. The other nice thing about doing a double loop is then I can stop at my house to use the bathroom halfway. And and my stomach was feeling a little off before going, because we'd gone to a movie just before this. So I was running on popcorn and root beer. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Which actually, besides needing to use the bathroom, it didn't seem like that was that bad of fueling, surprisingly. Okay. Energy levels felt good. I didn't feel sloshing or anything like that. I was just a little rumbly because it was not a normal thing for me to eat before running. So then my stomach was not real happy with it. So stopped to use the bathroom, took off again, finished and actually at the halfway point, I thought, maybe I'll just run 13 and a half instead, just to get, just to clock in a half marathon. Because if I'm not pushing anyway, why not just do another 1.5 miles? What's the difference, right?
Yeah.
And, so I was considering that, but then, man, the pounding just kicked in where, I don't run for that. It's not the distance, it's the time. It's running and because I wasn't going that fast, this took me, I don't remember exactly, like an hour and 45 minutes. And I don't run over an hour very often at all. And so once I hit about an hour 15 or so, that pounding just starts to take its toll on me.
Yeah.
And I think my form deteriorates too. So I'm hitting a little bit harder and stuff, I'm sure. Anyway, but yeah, muscles felt good. Breathing felt good. It was just feet started to hurt. And pretty soon, and then all the joints just start to get achy. Nothing bad, nothing nothing anywhere near an injury issue or anything. But yeah, just super uncomfortable. So anyway, got through that. Definitely decided another mile and a half of pounding isn't going to do me any good. It's only going to make things worse. So no point in adding anything like that. So anyway, I stopped right at my 12-minute mark. But the point of this conversation, though, because I said, we should do a recap on this, and because and we were talking about the things you think about, first of all, on really, really long runs. Man, I get some profound thoughts and ideas like that, and man, here's a great way to, communicate this thing that I've been struggling with, or here's a great way where I can help this person with this problem, or here's a new way of looking at this other thing, and probably 10% of the time, those are actually really good ideas. When you're done, they still hold up. And, and then the other 90% of the time, you get some clarity to it. No, none of that was as profound as I thought it was. It's fine. Might have been good for my own brain for clarity, but I'm not going to share this with anyone, Yeah. And, so yesterday had that, it did have a lot of great stuff there that I'm not going to share because it was all actually useless, but it was wonderful in the moment.
Yeah.
And I solved all the world's problems on that run.
That's awesome.
But the main thing I really thought was a subject that we haven't talked about at all, because I don't know if you experienced this, but when you start running that far, and I don't run into this near as much as everybody else, but chafing. Do you experience chafing while running? Have you ever had any issues with that?
No. I mean, so let me qualify that. Not really. Yeah. I might have had one run at a random time that I got some chafing in an uncomfortable spot, but
it's always in an uncomfortable spot.
Yeah. An unmentionable spot.
It doesn't happen anywhere else. But no, I don't really, I haven't ever dealt with that again, aside from just a one-off when I don't know, maybe I was too humid or sweat too much too fast, or I don't know, there's some other weird reason for it, but it's never been a thing I've come across before. Well, and isn't that interesting also that I have been as sweaty as you can get and not had an issue. Totally. I've also been as sweaty as you can get and had an issue. And I don't know why sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, but it definitely is so uncommon for me that I don't bother doing anything about it. Some people have different creams and things like that they use, and it's so unusual for me that I don't even bother doing anything.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yesterday's, so to back up a little bit also, I was just thinking through that I think we've been lucky where you and I can get talking, and because we know each other so well, that we might go down some roads here that we probably shouldn't make public or talk about, that got more uncomfortable than maybe it should have. Right. And you and I think could accidentally go there real easily. And so far, I think that we have actually avoided that. And I don't think intentionally, but we have.
Yeah.
And I've been pretty impressed with how we've done. But
I agree.
Right now, we're going to see how we push that limit here. So
all right, let's do it.
So this might get embarrassing for me later on. And no. Okay, so my first one, my worst chafing incident is I was on a run, and you get a little bit of a rumbly stomach, and you got to fart a little bit, so you do, and man, just the teeniest bit of a little more than a fart came out. Hardly anything. And I only had to get a mile. I was a mile from home, right?
Oh, no.
And so that happened. So it's not far. Like, I'm going to be, and it was all downhill. I'm going to be home in literally like 6.5 minutes. I was on a fast run, no problem. I can survive 6.5 minutes with any problem or whatever. No, it caused the worst chafing, bloody issue in there. It took me days to like recover from that. Yeah. And it just shredded me. And, I mean, like I lost so much skin from that in like the worst possible place.
Right.
And maybe not the worst possible, one of them, you know? And, anyway, so that's my worst incident with that. This one though, so I stopped to use the bathroom halfway through. It went in and actually like used my own bathroom at my own house, right?
Right.
Made sure to like be real careful to clean really, really, really good because I know that this could just destroy me. So I'm really careful of that, real cognizant of that, get that, go out my run, still feel fine while running. Like must have done good enough. And it wasn't until after I got home and took a shower and then all of a sudden pain started where I had lost some skin down there. And I think what happened was because I stopped and went into a bathroom in my house, all of a sudden my sweat took off like crazy. And so instead of having that natural air kind of like just, you know, kind of cooling things and getting rid of, you know, and getting rid of the sweat in the wrong places, I think sweat got into places where sweat usually wouldn't have been. And then that caused the chafing that happened that now I have to recover from.
Could be. Or did the cleaning of the area remove any lubrication? Not that's the wrong word, but any sweat that may have.
You're just making it worse.
I know, but did you remove any potential sweat that could have kept things going easy, and now it's dry?
It's possible. I don't think so. I definitely did not feel dry anywhere by the end of that. So I think it was the other way around. The sweat just drained everywhere. And, and then, this is probably what added to it too, is then it got significantly colder after that too, because the sun set at, with about 4 miles left. And I'm not running that fast. Those 4 miles took a while. And, so the sun set, it got colder. The sweat started to dry. Probably because I get sweat deposits on me, salt deposits on me like crazy from sweating. You know, I turn white. Yeah, I turn white and salty by the end of a long run like this.
Oh, I've never gotten that. And
really, okay, that is a normal thing. It still has to be the longer ones. The shorter ones don't seem to do that. Okay. I wonder if it's a dehydration thing or something. Where all of a sudden you're sweating more salt than water or something. Or maybe you and I just have you and I have a different diet too. So it could just be that too. But, anyway, so maybe it was just maybe it's some salt chunk just started tearing skin apart.
I will say the times I've had some chafing have always been usually more what you're describing now, whereas I finish a run, I take a shower, and then afterwards I'm like, oh, that's real raw. And I don't know why. I didn't notice it in the moment. And the couple times it's happened has been that type of a situation. But if we backtrack from that and take it to a less gross way or topic, the not excessive, but the increase of sweat at when you stop on a run is mind-blowing to me. So I always have to deal with my Raynaud syndrome. With Raynaud syndrome is a neurological response to usually hot and cold, where your body thinks you're going into hyperthermia, and so it pulls all your blood from your extremities. And so when I'm running in the cold, I might lose blood in my fingers, my toes, and it's really painful and uncomfortable, and makes me not want to run in the cold weather anymore. But what will happen oftentimes is I'll do a run, and in the wintertime, my hands are cold, my feet are cold, I feel numb, I'm not sweating in the slightest, and after a mile I'll stop, either because like maybe the run is done or I'm going to go back. I didn't go inside and change anything. I'm not breathing hard. And then after like 30 seconds, then the sweat starts. And then I start to, I mean, usually the numbness doesn't go away that quickly, but at least then like the sweat will start when I'm done or at the break time. And so I wonder if you have that happen to you where you're going for your run and you stop to go to the bathroom, and I don't know what it is physiologically, but you go in from your run, you're not cooled down because you're still going to keep going, and the sweat just starts pouring right then.
Yeah, I could see it being two reasons. I totally experienced that. That's exactly what happens to me every time. Is like I'll be running, and usually I dress in a way where I'm not that sweaty while running unless it's really hot out, you know. And so usually if it's 70 degrees or under, I don't sweat that much during a run.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as I stop, it's almost like my body goes on. Maybe it's just really warm, and I no longer have airflow going past me from running. And so that happens, or my body's just quickly trying to cool itself, and it's just like, oh, we stopped running. Okay, let's fix this job quick. I don't know which one's happening, but regardless, that definitely happens every single time I stop, and then I'm just dumping sweat.
Yeah, it's wild. Especially, it's probably what you just described, where your body's just trying to cool itself off quickly at the end. But it's such an interesting experience, especially in the wintertime when you are, at least for me, like I am cold and my hands and feet are numb, and I'm not I'm not breathing hard, I'm not working hard, and then I'll stop and just like the sweat just comes so quickly.
So then the other aspect to the whole, as we're talking about just sweaty messes. I know. Here's the other thing is I have a beard currently too. And sweat will collect in my beard until I move a certain way, and then it just drains out of it.
Yep.
And so I was doing Christy's class. So Christy, my wife, is a fitness instructor, and so we were doing her class at the gym, which involves some treadmill running. And man, it was fun. We did. She always adds in like a couple of sprints in there, so do like a minute as fast as you can go, and it's been really good for me. We just max out the treadmill, which puts you about like 450 pace, I think, is the fastest our treadmill can go.
Okay.
But anyway, really good for me to just get used to striding out. So make that not a fast. How do I say this? Make that speed not have a high cadence. So more launching, more striding out in order to do that has been really, really helpful for me to get more comfortable at higher speeds and not feel like I'm just now actually sprinting.
What you would technically call that is running at a higher pace or running at a faster speed and maintaining your run economy. If we go technical speak.
There we go. Nice. I like that. So anyway, I'm working on my economy, and and we get into that, and we go into the other part of what we're doing. And I bend down to get my water bottle, and I stand up, and then I just like flooded the floor in front of me. I don't know how that much sweat saved in my beard. I don't have a huge beard right now. I just have a little bit of a beard. And it just, like, I created a giant puddle on the floor.
Oh, man.
I stood back up. Yeah, it was pretty funny. But weird how the body works like that. So,
so you had a very eventful run. It went from being easy and no problem, quick break, to excessive chafing and excessive sweating.
Yeah. Still felt great for the run.
You had a borderline fever run.
Pretty much, probably. Pretty much. And but it was an excellent run. It was really good for preparing. I did a good job of staying in the paces that were appropriate, which is often hard to do because they'll feel so slow at the beginning. And no, this one I took off smooth. I stayed smooth. I was consistent. You know, obviously I slowed way down on the hills, but as soon as I was not in a hill, was right back to my consistent pace again, and it felt good. So it was nice to be in that where, okay, no, I picked a good pace. I stayed on a good pace. That was all there. It was all right. And building my confidence for my race next week that I think, even though it'll be a much easier course, so I'll get to fall into a much quicker pace. But I feel like my instincts are right there to fall into the pace that's going to be right for me to complete this and exhaust my energy by the end.
So your race is next weekend?
Yeah, next weekend, Saturday.
And what's the course?
So this is the Jackass Half Marathon. If you're familiar with Idaho at all, it starts in Wallace and runs to Kellogg. So this is a really cool one because the start line and finish line are not in the same spot at all. So you actually start in one town and you finish in a different town.
You did a portion of this one last year, if I remember right.
I did the whole thing last year. Yep.
Oh, you did the whole 13?
So, yeah. Yep. So I did the half. That was my first half marathon actually. So I did that. I ran it. It's actually a mostly downhill course, but only a 1% grade, which is really funny because it messes with your mind because 1% grade is not, you can't see it. It doesn't look downhill at all. It looks completely flat. And so you just fall in. So when you're striding out and you're just getting smooth, and then what happened to me is I ran my first mile in like 6:40.
Yeah.
And felt great. Like just completely fine. I'm not breathing hard. I'm just cruising and feeling just wonderful. And I look at my watch. I'm like, oh crap, that's way too fast. I'm going to die around mile 7. And it was actually too fast. It just felt really good. So I backed off a little bit and then basically ran low 7s the rest of the time. I averaged 7:07 was my average pace by the end of it. That was almost a minute faster than I thought I could actually do that distance in. I've never run a half marathon at that speed before, but again, super easy course. But I loved how smooth it was. It wasn't downhill enough to cause any issues with, any pounding on your knees or anything.
Yeah.
It's just that barely you just get real fluid. And, so anyway, so it does that for the first 7 miles, stays right on that grade. And then you have a little bit of an out and back uphill at mile 7 where you go up a hill, come back down, and then you get right back on the path, right on the same grade again. And that happens until the last half mile, where you got to run up into downtown Kellogg, which is some pretty good hills. And because you're running in kind of a small town, but a downtown section, so you have uphill, 90-degree turn, uphill, 90-degree turn, uphill. So you can't see, you don't know where the top of the hill is at all. So you just keep turning the corner. I'm like, crap, another one. Oh, crap, another one. And I've already run, almost 13 miles. And like, okay, I don't know how much more I can survive of this, And so, because, I wasn't expecting this much of it. This time I'll save a little bit for that last bit. Because I was moving slow by the last couple hills, and I could never tell how many more I actually had to do. So they just kept surprising you, and then finally you come around the last corner and you turn. You have a downhill sprint of about 150 meters to the finish line, but it just kind of surprised you. I think I'll look at the map and actually count all the turns this time. So as I'm going up, I can just count them down.
That would be helpful to know. I feel like I always like knowing what I'm getting into. The unknown on a run is always, it messes with my head, and I feel like you feel like you're never ending, and especially for my brain, that I'm gonna hold energy and reserves that I shouldn't,
Right.
And that's a bad strategy when you're in a race situation. I don't want to hold too much reserves,
My goal will be to run out of all my reserves at the peak of the last hill, and then just let gravity take me to the finish line. That would be ideal, because I can probably make up more of a difference in time on the uphills than the downhill. That last little sprint, I could take off a couple seconds by sprinting a little bit faster, but I can only sprint so fast. But the difference in running up a hill really slow compared to running up a hill at a pretty moderate speed, I think I can make up more time there than I could on the last downhill. So I'm hoping to be dead at the last turn and then just fall down the hill. That'll be the goal.
That's the best way to end.
So,
I mean, the ending on a downhill is feels amazing, because it doesn't matter how much energy you have left. You just go. You let the hill.
As long as my feet are still under me. Yeah, as long as your feet stay under you, you're gonna be okay. It's all gonna work. So that's the goal there, and I'm gonna take off just like last year and just see if maybe I have more fitness than I think I did, and luckily I have a ton of miles to adjust if it's just not there, So in the first 3-4 miles, I'll know if that's actually there or not, and I have plenty of time to then back off and adjust. So
how does your training this year compare to last year?
Oh, horrible. Yeah, last year's was good. Last year was not perfect, but
Yeah.
I was pretty darn consistent, and I had a lot of cross training too that I had done that was also really good.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so I was much more fit last year. I'm probably 10 pounds heavier than I was last year too. So
okay.
so I'm still on the light end of things as far as my weight goes, but last year I was sitting at 155.
Wow.
So yeah, I was at my lightest since high school, and yeah, and my body fat, I think I had measured just before that, I was in like the mid sixes.
Okay.
So yeah, so anyway, so I was pretty darn lean right then, and right now I'm not that lean. I'm still plenty thin, but I'm pretty consistent around 165 right now. So yeah, so I'm not as light, I'm not as fluid, I'm not in as good a shape, but I am in good shape. I'm just not there, and I'm not dialed in. I'm not running 5 days a week, and and last year I was like 5 to 6 days a week at this point, just fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we'll see how it goes, but I have a feeling that, like, okay, I might still be in the vicinity of that. Why not take off and just kind of feel it out, see if that works. I'd hate to take off slower and then find that like I had a lot left. So I'm going to take off at that pace, feel it out, and then make adjustments from there. Yeah,
that makes sense. What do you going back? You mentioned something earlier that I thought was interesting. So you talk about on the long run, especially the longer runs, is an opportunity to like work through stuff in your head and solve your own and all of the world's problems, right?
Yeah.
What do you, when you go into a run and you're stressed and you have those kind of things, like you kind of like need a run to work those out, or at very least just to clear your mind, right? Like you're too many thoughts are bogging your head. I just need to run and get my mind off of these things that aren't important, or I don't need to worry about right now, or whatever the reason. Do you find it affects your run in a positive or negative way?
Definitely both. Yeah. Yeah. Depends on what I'm working through. Yeah, but it does do, I mean, that's the best thing to kind of give more of an overall thing of what this does for me. And I hear similar versions of this from a lot of people that get into running all of a sudden, that that's like, it's just so good for your brain. I think it's so good for your brain to go out and push yourself so hard to where you have to let go of all these things that are muddled in your brain. And then it's like stepping back from these things, taking a new perspective at it, and then they're easier to sort through afterwards. And so I consider it like my desk is messy. It's got all of the things I've been thinking about just sitting on top of my desk, and it's all there. And I'm just kind of filtering through papers, but I can't focus on any one thing. It's just all there. And so, it's like going to work with a messy desk. I'm not actually going to accomplish anything because I'm going to get 10% through all of them and then actually do no good at all. And my brain can get all bogged down like that. So then this is like clearing the desk, putting it all into a filing cabinet, so then I can take out one thing at a time afterwards.
That makes sense.
But yeah, it's just filing things away, putting things, organizing where they can be so they're then easily to deal with, like that, where it's just not a mess sitting there. So that's what I feel like the picture is for me. But depending on what the hard things are, a run sometimes can be a great way to just get out some frustration and stuff. And then I'm not frustrated afterwards anymore. You have a different perspective, and I just got to get out that energy. It was not being useful to solve this problem anyway, and gets that out. But sometimes also it can go the other way around, where sometimes the things are just so wearing, where it's like, and I've had this, I think, then mixed with, if my sleep isn't good too, then that's when this does not work well, because if my sleep isn't good and I'm trying to run and do that, and then it's like, okay, all of my issues now are bogging me down and bogging down my run. My run isn't even fixing it. Okay, now I got real problems.
Right.
If my run doesn't sort this stuff out, I don't know how to sort this stuff out anymore. That's my coping mechanism. This is how I do it. if this doesn't work, I don't know what else to do, outside of doing more like things we would do. And I don't know if this was as much for you or what your reasoning for it was, but for me, there would be things that I would do when I was younger is, okay, well, let's just go out and do something really exciting or really scary. And that's another way to just quick reset on my brain. But I don't have opportunities for those as much at my current age and lifestyle to be able to just go out and do that real quick, So
yeah, I feel that for sure.
So that option isn't really there. And I think I've done enough things that now to cross that boundary into something that actually does get the adrenaline going and gets you scared is usually on the verge of injury. Like that gets really dangerous now because we've already done all those exciting things, and you got to push that limit again. And like, I'm kind of trying not to do that too much anymore. So I don't know if that relates for you. I don't think we necessarily have similar reasons for why we do all the same things.
Yeah, I brought that up because I had a run a couple weeks ago, and I think I might have mentioned it a little recently to you, but I don't recall. I was having a stressful day, and I don't usually. I like to say I don't have a lot of stress, and I think I just arguably don't manage it well, or maybe manage it too well, or something. Regardless of my psychotherapy on myself of my stress issues, I don't feel a lot of stress consciously. Like, things don't really stress me out that much. I can usually work through them pretty quick if something's bothering me. The long runs are, like you said, they're a good way to just kind of clear the head, but I've never had to deal with like, I'm dealing with this issue, I'm going to go run and try to like clear it out of my head or something like that. But I was having a day where a couple things were happening. I was having to have a couple conversations that I really didn't want to have, and the outcome of them was really up in the air and depended upon how the conversation went. So just kind of a little more stressful than I'm used to allowing myself to get to. And
yeah,
I got up in the morning, because I usually do my workouts in the morning. So I worked out in the morning, and went into a kind of a fasted day, because that's my usual thing. So like nothing out of the ordinary yet. And then I went into my run. Like, I just need to run. I would need, like, intentionally, I need to go and clear my head. So like, I'm just going to go 4 miles, which for me, that's a run right there. That's a long run. But the intention was like, I'm not going to run fast. I'm intentionally going to run very slow, and I'm just going to go for time. Like, I just want to get outside, get my body moving, not trying to push anything. And with the focus of trying to clear my head, right? Trying to at least calm myself prior to these conversations that are going to have to be had. And it was probably the hardest run I've had in recent memory. I had to stop on going about 8 miles an hour. I looked back at my times afterwards. I was like, not 8 miles an hour, 8-minute miles, maybe 7:40 on a couple of them. But like, I had to stop 3 times, like legitimately stop, because I was exhausted. And it was not helping the stress part of it, because now the thing that was supposed to calm is becoming so incredibly hard, and I'm failing at it when it was supposed to be like a long, easy, like enjoyable run, just to be like, if the sun was out, like, look, let's just clear the head and have fun with it, and turned into like adding stress to my day. I'm like, why is this so hard? I can't make it. I made it 1.5 miles and had to stop. No, I made it 2. I made it 2 miles, had to stop. Coming back, had to stop before I hit my 3rd. And I guess maybe that was the only times I stopped. But still, like at least 2 stops on a 4-mile run is ridiculous. Like especially for where my fitness level is at, like an easy, slow run. And it just got me. And I've never had a run quite get me like that, because of like the psychological aspect of it, or all the stress I'm holding in my body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was rough.
I had a horrible one last winter. And I think it is just, depending on what stresses, and, I've had a lot of difficult things to work through over the last year. And this last winter was, it was just a really tough time. On top of the fact that I think, again, it was like I had rough sleep for a little while, and like, okay, I'm going to get out. And, like what you were saying, but it was such a tough spot that I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do a trail run. I'm going out to the woods, and I'm going to go for a while,
Mm-hmm.
And my thought was like, I'm going to do somewhere between 7 to 10, but I just need to go for a long time, and I'm going to take off like really slow, like 10-minute mile pace. And so I did. I was like running somewhere between 8s and 10s, but just just out there, just trying to enjoy being outside. It was a sunny day. And I had to, because of where my head was at and because of where my emotions were at and the stress was at, I stopped 4 miles away from my car and just had to walk back. Like there was like, I literally can't run anymore. And it had nothing to do with my fitness, but it all felt physical. Like it felt fitness. Yeah, it felt like I can't get my legs to go anymore. And it was so frustrating in that moment, because already I'm having a hard time with these other things. And now I can't even run. Like, why can't I even, did I somehow get out of shape? Like that even hit where like how I didn't even take off fast. I didn't push hard. Why can I not get my legs to move underneath me? And I just can't do it. And so I called our sister, Nikki, to talk through some stuff with her. I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? And it was horrible. And then just to prove that like it had nothing to do with me physically at all, I ran the exact same course a week later, the opposite direction, which is actually a more difficult hills that way. Ran that same course, opposite direction, a week later, and I was sub 8-minute pace the whole time and felt great.
Like, it just shows you how much stress just messes with our body and manifests in such a physical way. Which I tell to certain clients that I have that the stress of losing weight is restricting you from losing weight. It's like even in that capacity, like you're trying to do a weight loss journey and you're doing the things right, but you're stressing about it so much, you're not losing weight, and you're not going to until you let that go. Like and so like I know all these things, and working with so many clients over the years, I've seen it happen in so many different ways. But to feel it in a performance way is so eye-opening and frustrating at the same time.
I don't experience, because I don't have, when I get out of shape, I don't get larger and I don't get heavier. Usually heavier is because I'm doing a different type of exercise that's made me way heavier. Yeah. But, that's just how my body reacts when I've been really out of shape in my life. I've weighed just a little more than I do now. So I don't have that issue with that. So, yeah. But man, people's focus on their weight, I've seen that do such difficult things to them, So
it's very unfortunate. And I mean, I don't understand what people on the extreme, at least I don't have the personal experience of a massive weight loss. However, I do, much to a lot of people's disagreement based on what they see, I do know what it feels like to eat away from my diet and gain body fat very quickly and see the weight increase very quickly. Like I do have to, like I'm very regimented about what I eat, partially for health, partially for fat loss, because I know how it affects my fat gains, mostly so I can feel good though. That's the main reason why my diet is the way it is, because I want to feel good and those foods make me feel the best I can. But it's if I let my diet go and decided just to eat, not even go overboard, just to allow certain things back into my diet that I typically stay away from, I would gain 15 pounds in a week or a weekend, depending upon how much I indulged.
This is a subject I'd like to talk about further. I am out of time right now, so I got to run, but let's make a point to talk about this whole subject. I'd be very curious about a lot of what you have with that.
Yeah.
Okay,
we should.
I got to go.